Okay. So welcome to the third class of Shari Yehud by the Mitzvah Rebbe with the commentary by Rabbi Peter Laparach. So today we're going to be studying about the third part of the brain, which is Daas. And if you want to look it up, it's on page 15 of the English text and page 2 of the Hebrew text. It's page 15 of the English text and page 2 of the Hebrew text. But before we start, I just want to make a few announcements and clarify a few issues. So just for I assume that by now everybody should really know how to find their way around all the information that we're giving you. But in case you don't, this is our WhatsApp, the key to Chassidus. If you click on the course description, what will come up is in the welcome, the link to our course Google folder, and you'll see a link there to the Google Drive. That's where we put all of our information, as well as, we keep putting it also in the WhatsApp group. And there's also the Zoom link to the class, which is always the same, even though I still post it. So I want to just take you to the Google link. So this is the Google Drive. In the Google Drive, you have the recordings. Every week we put the recordings into here. We also put it on a YouTube channel, which we share with you. Then there's the Hebrew text is now available, and it's a really beautiful text. I recommend those of you who can work with the Hebrew that you do so. It's 94 pages, but don't worry, we're just dealing with the first 17 pages in the beginning. And then we have the English translation, which by now most of you should have downloaded. The other thing that I've added is a document called Hebrew Vocabulary. And here, what I've started to do is to build Hebrew vocabulary, words that we need to remember. Yeah,
I'm sorry, but for some reason, my screen shows only the Key to Chassidus course. Is it by everybody or is just my internet connection? Everybody sees the Google Drive, yeah?
Are you seeing a document here?
No.
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 Yeah. Wow, that's so strange.
Maybe you want to refresh your page or whatever.
Okay. So you're not seeing the Google Drive here?
No, we just see your WhatsApp, the Key to Chassidus group, 45 members and all that.
So I don't know why it didn't. Oh, I see. So it didn't go through to there. All right. Well, I guess that's
start a new share. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see if what I can share with you here. Well, let's just say that when you go into the Google Drive, you'll find the Hebrew text, you'll find the English text, and you'll also find the recordings. And now I've also put a Google document where you can find, I'm compiling a list of Hebrew terms in Hebrew and English and transliteration, things, basically a vocabulary that we should be building as we go along. All right. So okay. So I wanted to answer a question, start with a question that Miriam asked last week, which I didn't quite understand. And after the class, it just jumped into my head that perhaps she was asking a question that we all unconsciously have. So Miriam, I'm going to try and answer your question. Oh, before that, I wanted to just tell everybody that next week in America, we start daylight savings time, which means that for Americans, the time is going to stay the same. It's going to be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll feel a little bit early next week because the time changes overnight. But for those in Israel and in South Africa, the class will now be an hour earlier. It'll be
Gosh.
4 to 5:30.
No, that's
Until in about 3 weeks' time, Israel will change their time and then it'll go back. But for South Africa, it's going to remain the same because you don't have daylight saving. Okay, we will remind you, but just so that you're aware that things are a little bit changing in terms of time. Okay, so last week, Miriam asked the question, she asked if Bina is the world of action. And I began to understand why she was saying that. Because we're talking about, when we talk about Chochmah and Bina, we're saying that in Bina, in Chochmah, there are no letters, and in Bina, there's the level of letters. And we were also talking about how when you only have something in Chochmah, you only understand it in your Chochmah brain, you're not able to relate it to anybody. You're not able to share it with in your words. So the world of speaking is associated with Malchut, which is the world of action. So there could be a little bit confusion there, because the world of Bina is not about speech. It's still about thought. And if you think about it, as I'm talking to you now, you are thinking, but you're thinking in letters. You're thinking in words. And that's happening in the Bina brain. So before it comes out in words, which is associated with Malchut and the world of action, or it comes out in writing, in terms of writing words, before that, it's actually in your Bina brain, in your left brain, in the form of words. We think in the form of letters and words. So, Miriam, I hope that clarifies a little bit for you.
thank you.
Is that where your thinking was going?
Definitely. You have clarified that. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I just thought that, for other people as well, this idea of otiyot, of letters, is kind of abstract. It's abstract for all of us. Okay, so then there was one other question that we received about yesh and ayin. And the last thing that we learned in the last class was that Bina is known to be a yesh, and Chochmah is an ayin relative to the yesh of Bina. But Chochmah is a yesh relative to, is a yesh relative to what is above it. So it can be a little bit confusion, like what is yesh, what is ayin? So it's always relative. We're taught that the world was created, yesh mi'ayin, something from nothing. But that nothing, that ayin, is so much greater than the yesh that was created. Ayin, in a sense, means no thing. It's not yet a tangible, it's not yet a tangible thing. It's not concrete yet. It's abstract. But yesh and ayin are always relative to each other. So you can say that Bina is a yesh and Chochmah is an ayin. But then when you look at Chochmah relative to that which is above it, which is even less concrete than Chochmah, so then Chochmah becomes a form of a yesh. For those of you who are comfortable with the idea of orot and kelim, so then the kelim are more a yesh, and the orot are more the ayin. It's not yet concrete. It's not yet identifiable by our senses. So, okay, so just wanted to clarify those two ideas. Mila, is there anything that you wanted to clarify from last week?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. By the end of last week's class, there's a little discussion woke up when I mentioned something about healing modalities. And the core of the discussion was that truly the healing comes from Hashem. And with Avodah Samaychin, where we really trying to go deeper into the awareness of God. And the opposite of healing usually results in the absence of that awareness in that particular area that we need healing in. And truly, in ideal setting, it should rectify whatever the disease is. And then there was, it sounded probably, to some people in particular, that means that people should not reach out to other healing modalities. And this is not, I would like to clarify, because this is not the intention. Until we have a firm grip on the Hisbonenus and the Seder Ishtalshelus, and knowing exactly how to do it in our practical life, and how to draw godly light to that particular area where we need healing, it's not advisable to quit your 9-to-5 job. Meaning, in our pursuit of getting and accessing healing, the ultimate healing, one should not leave the healing modalities that they are currently exercising and reaching out to. I mean, obviously, we're talking about healing modalities that are aligned with the Torah, with Torah and Halacha. But nevertheless, they might go into category of Avodas Hamidas. But that doesn't mean that we should leave solid ground from underneath of our feet while we still haven't reached a firm grip on what Hisbonenus is and how to do it. At the same time, when we are reaching out to these modalities, we should know that, this is a temporary solution which we're reaching out, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll have more expanded and more more permanent way of how to rectify diseases in our life. So just wanted to clarify that.
All right. So just to summarize where we are right now. So I did my own little one-line summary. Reb Hillel began with, if you want to know Hashem and experience that there's nothing but Hashem, then you have to do Hitbonenut. But in order to understand Hitbonenut, we first need to understand the 3 parts of the brain, Chochmah, Bina, and Das. So Chochmah is the intellectualization of the essence of the subject matter above the level of letters. And Bina is the enclothing of Chochmah in explanations utilizing letters. Or to put it in another way, Chochmah is sensing and insight, and Bina is the detailed understanding. So that's where we are so far. Today we're going to go into Das.
Can you put those in the email or something, the things that you put together? They're very concise and clear.
Okay, I'll put them on the WhatsApp. It's easiest for me to do.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so Das, I have to say, every time we come around to Das, it's the most fascinating. And that also means that it's a little bit more challenging than Chochmah and Bina. So don't be intimidated, because it's also, as we go deep into Das, you'll find so many treasures there that you can't imagine. So just as a preview, I want you to think of a situation where you felt completely involved in what you were doing, to the point that you would lose track of time, And perhaps you didn't, you even lost a sense of yourself. And I want you to just take a minute and to write about that experience. Okay, would anybody like to share their experience with us? Just unmute yourself. I'll just take one share.
I can.
Thanks, Cody.
If I am writing a text or translating the text, it becomes an urge, and it creates. I feel one with the idea that I want to say, and one with the finding the right word that will express what I want to say. So it will be urge and bonding.
Okay. You do translating from Hebrew to English?
No. It would be other languages.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. The way that you describe it is exactly as Reb Hillel is going to describe what happens with Daas. We use the word bonding. Okay. Would other people like to just write, if you can write into the chat, just to give us some ideas about the kinds of experiences where you might have this? If you can just write in the chat what the situation is. Wow, okay. So giving birth, making mosaics, painting. Okay, beautiful. So what we're going to look at is practicing piano, doing drawings in ink wash for an animation. Okay.
Practicing piano, that's beautiful.
Practicing piano, yeah. Right. So these are experiences. We're going to see how Reb Hillel, he brings us an example of two people who have the same intellectual capacity, and yet one becomes very connected to what they're doing, what they understand, and the other one, even though they understand what they're doing, they comprehend, it's not that they don't have comprehension, but they don't get connected to it. And three things happen. One is that the person who is very connected to what it is they're engaged in, so they're able to spend a lot of time on it. They also lose a sense of self, and probably most importantly, they don't think about anything else while they're doing it. You know, because sometimes we can be very distracted, but when you're completely engaged in something and you're connected with Daas, you don't think about anything else. It's kind of like Cody described when she's doing the translation. And it looks like everybody here at least has, has experienced something of that. All right. So, Mila.
Yeah,
what is
yeah,
next?
Daas is definitely one of those things that we feel very much connected to. Everything, it's mystical, and yet something which is very close and tangible to us. I want to begin with a very interesting story of Rabbi Yitzchak of Berdichev that will actually uncover a little bit about what Das is. Rabbi Yitzchak of Berdichev was not from a Hasidic background, and when he became a disciple of the Maggid, he worked it out with his wife that he's going to go and study for about 6 months by the Mezritch Maggid. And he went there and he studied. And his father-in-law was greatly displeased by this move because he was coming from a Misnagdish background. And when he returned, he came over to his chassan and he said, in a smirky way, he's like, "No, what did you learn in Mezritch?" And truly, it was a valid question because Rabbi Levi Yitzchak was already a big Talmid Chacham. And he was, didn't really understand what this Hasidic Rebbe is going to teach him in terms of Torah knowledge. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak looked at his father-in-law and said, "Now I know that there's a God in the world." And, his father-in-law rolled his eyes and he said, "Well, you didn't have to go to Mezritch and learn for 6 months to know that there's a God in the world. My maid knows that there's a God in the world." And he got all upset and he says, "Call Marusia," whatever was her name. And a maid walks in. According to one opinion, she was Jewish, and according to one opinion, she was not. And he asks her, he's like, "No, is there God in the world?" And she says, "Yeah, sure, there's a God in the world." And she didn't understand, what the question is. And he looks at Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev and says, "No, what do you have to say for this?" And he says, "She says there's a God in the world. I know there's a God in the world." So from this story, we understand that there is difference, and there's different levels of knowing. And obviously, it might take more than 6 months to know that there's a God in the world and to discover God in the world. And what is that knowing? What is that das are we talking about? So we're going to jump straight into the text. You have all access of this, full text. And we are in Biur base right here. Yeah, everybody could see my screen with
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
I see it.
Mila, can you say the page number from the text, from the Sefer?
Sure. So we are on page 2, actually. Well, it says Aleph, right? So this is Aleph right here. And I'm sorry, no, it's 298. Yeah. And here we discussed about, the 3 questions that we had with Rambam. Then we went into this whole Chachman.
Sorry, the text I have, it doesn't have numbers. It has letters like Chaf Dalet, Kuf Pe Vav. It doesn't have. This is what I got, what they printed. And I don't
see here Kuf Mem Tes on the first page. Like if you look at the screen.
Yeah.
Mem Tes. Okay, great. So when
No, sorry. What did you say? Which letters? Kuf?
Kuf Mem Tes. You have?
No. Oh, I have. What page is it? Now I find pages. Which page did you see? Sorry to interrupt. Which page? 300 and what?
298.
Okay. So I printed much more. 298.
Okay, so we are here right by the bottom. Okay, so let's go. Ach bechinas hagimel, but the third aspect, hu bechinas hadas, is the aspect of das. She'eino lo bechinas haskala, lo bechinas havana, rag bechinas hiskashrus bahem bilvad. that interestingly, it is not the aspect of the conceptualization of it, which is chachma, v'lo b'chinas havana, and not understanding, but only the connection to them. V'yuven mima she'anu roim, and we see that from two people. It's interestingly, he doesn't really describe much what das is, and right away jumps into a mashal. Not a mashal, but it brings example. It's like a dogma. He brings how it already manifests in people, because it's very difficult to try to conceptualize something which is not a concept and it's not an understanding. You could only see it, and you could only understand it from an example of looking at somebody. You can't really describe it. There's nothing to describe. So let's see how das manifests in action by two people. And we understand this when we look at two people, that they are both on the same level of haskala. Now, I really want to draw your attention right here. He does not use the way Havana here. They possess the same level of haskala, meaning that equally on haskala level, on the conceptualization level. Okay, and we're gonna just remember that question. Let's maybe write it down. This question. We're gonna answer this question much later, when we're gonna study about the bina and what bina does. So he says that they are both balei haskala shavis. Ba'afal pikein ha'alef hu mekasheres atzmai bahaskala bahasaga shemaskil umasik. Okay, and he says, even though there is one, the first one, now we're talking about the first one, he's able to connect himself into the haskala and into the hasaga. Okay, umasik, and what he's able to grasp out of this. What does this mean that he's connecting himself? Shu mekavet kol koach sichloi, that he's able to gather all his all the power of his brain, umachshavasai, and his thoughts, and he again uses the word, and he's able to concentrate and put together all the parts, to be able to connect only to one muscle. That's it. That's all what he's able to do at that moment. Okay, bilvad ad shehu ba'ata shaha mufshat mikol minei machshavos. To that point, he's able to concentrate on that one thing that at the time of him actually being engaged in it, he completely removes himself from any other thoughts. Okay, we're on the other page. We're on page Nun Kuf Nun. Okay, v'gam shocheach al atzmai. So here we go. He's completely removed from other thoughts, from foreign thoughts. He forgets about himself, b'shas ma'aseh, in the action itself. And that's it. This is what happens with him, right? He's able to concentrate, completely forget about himself, and he doesn't have any foreign thoughts. Now we're talking about the second guy. Eina mekusher klal. He's absolutely not connected with this bahaskala zeis, in this haskala. Ad sheyochel b'shas ma'aseh gam lachshav machshavas acheres, right? That also during the engagement, he's able to think about other thoughts. V'lachen lo yochel lahashwa zman ma bahaskala shemevin umesik. And therefore, he's unable to dwell on that thing for an extended period of time. Okay? Why? Mitzat tokef hiskashrut ba. I'm sorry. Shozman baskol shmevin amesik. Masha'enkein, and it's not like this. The first guy, he's able to dwell on this haskala that he understands and grasps. because of the strength of its connection, because he's so connected to it, he's able to really dwell on it for a very long time. So we have three components here, right? He forgets about himself, he is fully concentrated, and he also is able to dwell on it for an extended period of time. And this is called Daas. This is how Daas manifests itself. Daas is not a concept. That is not something that we could say, oh, it's a concept, or it's letters, or it's enclosement. It's nothing. Daas is bonding and connecting to that thing that we have Daas at. Some things we do, some things we don't. And this is pretty much the first part of the text, where we have two people and one person, and both of them, and this is very important, both of them are equally in that concept. Both of them have the same chachma in it. They see the vision. And sometimes he says that they have the same understanding. One of them is connected and the other one is not. How can we see he's connected? His connection manifests in three things. Number one, he's fully concentrated. He's not thinking about anything else while he's engaged in that activity. He forgets about himself. This is number two. And he is able to dwell on it for an extended period of time. He forgets about time, meaning forgets about himself. He loses track of time. And he's fully concentrated. The other guy understands it quite well. However, he cannot dwell on it for an extended period of time. And while he's engaged in it, he is able to think about other thoughts. Later on in the text now, he is going to explain us where the Daas is rooted. But before we do that, Naria will take you through the English translation.
Mila, I want to share my screen. Can you, okay.
Mhm.
All right. So the truth is that I think that Mila made it really clear. I looked at the English translation and I was going to read that to you, but I actually feel that the summary that I make is really clearer than the English translation. So I'm just going to share it with you. So Das is not conceptualization, haskala, which we know is chokhmah. It's not understanding, havana, which we know is bina. It is the connection to them, hitkashrut. It's a bonding. So the example is two people of equal intellectual capacity. One person connects himself to the concept and the explanation that he conceptualized and understood. And you'll see there, the reason that I wrote that, because these are code words for chokhmah and bina. He connects himself to the concept, which is the chokhmah, and the explanation, which is the bina, that he conceptualized, that he understood in his chokhmah brain, and that he understood in his bina brain. So the Reb Hillel of Parich is very specific here. In other words, he focuses the power of his intellect and his thoughts, and he summons them all to connect to one concept, to the point that he doesn't have any other thoughts at that time, and he even forgets himself at that time. The second person doesn't connect to the concept, so even when he's engaged with it, he might think about other things, and he's not able to spend much time on the concept he's trying to comprehend and understand. And in contrast, And I like the way Reb Hillel always does this. He's playing with our mind a little bit. He talks about the first person, he goes to the second person, and then he comes back to the first person. He's really playing with our mind. In contrast, the first person can spend a lot of time on the concept that he understands and grasps because of his strong intellectual connection and bond to it. And this is the power of Daas. And so the question really is, well, I had a question because now what Reb Hillel does is he then goes on and says, well, we need to look at the shoresh of dat. And he didn't do that for Chochmah and Bina. So I wondered, like, why is he doing it for Das? And then I realized we have a question here. You have two people of equal intellectual capacity, and one of them is connected to the concept and the other is not. The question is why? Why, if they basically have the similar abilities in terms of Chochmah and Bina, what is it about it, this experience that one person has Das and the other person doesn't? And so now Reb Hillel is going to explain to us. And I have to tell you that I'm looking forward to Mila's explanation, because I also had some challenges with trying to understand this idea. And the first thing that she said to me, and I'm going to share, let me see if I can share. So here you should be able to see this should be familiar to most people. It's the 10 Sfirot. And what we have here is Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Dat. And these are all connected to the intellect. And then you have the 7 emotional attributes, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. We right now are looking at Chochmah, Bina, and today we're looking at Dat. And the first thing that Mila pointed out to me is if you have a look at Dat, you'll see Chochmah is on the right side and Bina is on the left side. Dat is in the middle. And Dat, I know that I was always taught that either you're in Dat or you're in Keter, meaning that Dat is connected to Keter, which is the superconscious. It's above, it's beyond the intellect. And that's the first thing that begins to make sense. We need to understand that Dat is rooted in Keter. So usually when we talk about Chochmah, Bina, and Dat, you either talk about Keter, Chochmah, Bina, or Chochmah, Bina, and Dat, because Dat is kind of the manifestation of Keter in the consciousness. But Mila is going to explain further. I just wanted you to have that image so that when she's talking about some of these ideas, and I don't know how far I should go, but you know what, I'll just say this as well, that Keter is made up of basically 3 aspects. The lowest aspect of Keter is Ratzon, is desire. And then there's Oneg, and then there's Emunah, faith, as far as I understand. But certainly Ratzon is what we're going to be talking about, and that's part of the lower part of Keter. All right, Mila, I will let you continue and explain to us.
Beautiful. So yeah, let's see how Reb Hillel will take us to these ideas. Okay, so we have these 2 guys. One is connected, one is not connected, and it manifests in 3 things, right? In the ability to focus, in the ability to forget about themselves, and the ability to let go of time. And we are right here, right? And this is all called Daas. We like, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines from above and right in the middle after the dot. V'shorish hadas talui b'mi sheyesh lo chush ba'etzem hadavar. And he takes a very interesting leap, as Neria said, and he's trying to explain us what's the shorish hadas. Where's the root of das? And interestingly, he doesn't tell it to us when we were talking about chachma bina, because truly chachma and bina, this is our conscious mind. And, with our conscious mind, we're not excited to look at the roots of things. When we come to that is, this mystical thing, why one is connected and the other one is not. What is there? What is there? So he feels compelled probably to explain us the root of das, to see where things actually manifest. V'shorish hadas talui b'mi sheyesh lo chush. And shorish hadas is dependent for the one who has chush. Chush is, the literal translation of it is sense, right? The one who has a sense, be'etzem hadavar, in the essence of that thing, shemevin, that he understands. And look over here, he uses the word mevin. He's not using the word maskil. This is another, remember I told you all the way up in the beginning, when he's describing this one guy, it says, the one who is not connected, he's not using the word bina. Over here as well. Here, the one who is connected, the das, is the one who has mevin. Let's keep this little, just highlight that question. It's like a mini question that we might have when he describes the das. Okay, kmo mishu chazdan betiv'o. He gives an example. Says, listen, there's this guy who is a kind person. He's a kind person in his nature. Ba'atzmus nafsho, in the essence of his soul. Umimelo makor retzoynoi, and therefore, because his essence, he is good in his essence, right? Therefore, his desire, utomid bebchinas chesed v'tov. He constantly looks for opportunities to do good. Okay, umakor hazeh, and the source, who molid etzlo gilui ratzon, and this source that he is in essence connected, gives birth to him for the revelation of that desire. Now, I know it sounds like complicated, but it's actually not. If I am a kind person, I will look for opportunities to do kindness. I want to do kindness. Why? Because this is my essence. My essence will dictate me what kind of desire I want to have. L'chesed v'tov b'tmidut. And moreover, I want to do good, and I want to have that desire to do good constantly. V'gilui ratzon zeh, and the revelation of this ratzon, hu lemala min haseichel. It is above seichel. It's not because I understand that good is good. It's not because I have some kind of rational explanation why I want to do good. No, I want to do good because this is my essence. Okay? My essence will dictate me how I want to express it through my desire. I want to do good. This is above seichel, yet. K'moshe yizbayer, okay, kol zelikaman b'sif yutes. It says, later on the 19th chapter, I will explain all this, right? Now, then, we could look a little bit, we're not going to wait until 19th chapter. What does this mean? When seichel kicks in when I'm trying to figure out how am I going to express this desire. Remember? How? Maybe I'm going to open a store. Maybe I'm going to open some kind of charity. Maybe, I don't know, I'm going to open a soup kitchen. Maybe I'm going to open a yeshiva. Maybe I'm going to open this. There are many different kelim through which I could express my essential desire to do good. Why am I doing this goodness? Is because I'm in essence good. Okay, now, here we go. That hiskashrus, that connection, sheyesh lo b'bchinas haratzin, be'es sheroitze, that connection, again, the key word here is connection, right? the connection that I have in that aspect of Ratzon, before it's in clothing, how am I going to manifest it? We're still talking about in Keser, in the desire. While I'm still wanting, while that desire is burning in my super consciousness, right? I want to do good, is called Chush. This is what Chush is. Now, you see two keywords here. Chush, the way I want that desire, right? Das is when I'm trying to figure out how am I going to do it? How am I going to manifest it? And that's why he brings this, that we truly feel connected to things and we really could dwell in it when we discover that this is our essential desire. Okay, that's why he brings this connection of Das into that Chush. So there's a desire, there's a Ratzain, right? And that Ratzain will manifest itself, that it will command. Remember, the Ratzain is always a commander. The Ratzain will command the brain to think of ways, how am I going to manifest this in a real life, right? And it's going to be the same Das that's going to continue thinking in my Chachma and in my Bina, how am I manifesting this in the reality? Okay? And that my connection of me being dwelling on this for a long period of time, thinking about it, only this, and losing track of self and time, is because I have that essential connection to my Ratzin. Okay? And this aspect of Chush Kanal, Pa'el Etzla,
Mila, sorry, there's a request if you can just point to the line that you're on. If you can.
I'm sorry. Yes, we are right here. Do you see my my point, whatever I'm pointing with? Yeah. Okay. Now, interestingly, you see the brackets here. He brings down a very interesting thing. Now we're gonna go a little bit more into detail here. As we know that the Chachma and Bina manifest in the right and left brain. Okay. And Das is the back brain right here, our cerebellum. Now, the Ratzon is our skull, right? The Ratzon is the actual bone, right? That surrounds the Meichen, that surrounds the brain, is the skull. And if we look very carefully at our skull, we have 7 openings. We have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 holes for the nose, and the mouth. So this is called Zayin Tikkunei Golgotha in Kabbalah, right? This is the 7 tikkunim of the skull, and the skull is a Ratzon. So now, when a person has this, just one second, I'm sorry. So there are Zayin Tikkunei of the Golgotha, okay? And yeah, my kids are exceptionally persistent. That's how I know that we're really in the flow, right? Okay. When there's a little resistance in the environment. So, so these are the 7 tikkunei of the Golgotha. Now, the Golgotha is the Ratzon, right? So what are the eyes? What are the ears? What is the nose? What is the taste? This is our senses. This is our chushim. So our chushim, our senses, are the ones that carry out the desire of the Ratzon, if we could say so, right? Because when I really want something so badly, I will sense it in the environment. It will open up my senses to see this. And when we were learning this, I remember my teacher showed us, like people, he was telling us that he had somebody, an acquaintance, who was in the war in Vietnam. And obviously, they had a desire to live. Yeah, this is an essential desire to preserve self. And that desire caused them to be super sensitive. to the environment, to anything that opposes that desire. Yeah, and whenever the newcomers would come to Vietnam, the new soldiers, they couldn't hear that guy behind that bush that wanted to kill them. They did not have that sensitivity yet. But the older guys who were there, because they had that ratzon to live, and all of us have that ratzon to live, that spike all of the choshim to be so attuned with the environment to see that. And this is pertaining to self-preservation, the ratzon to live. And they were able to see and smell and hear. And, I'm sure these, this super sense that joins all the seven senses into one, and we becoming exceptionally intuitive. This is coming from this desire, whatever that desire we have. Now, let's take that into anything. Let's take it into anything that we want. You guys described very nicely in the text different activities that you lose your sense of self, time, and you melt into the experience. There is this inner desire there that pushes you to do that. That's why you have Daas in these activities, as opposed to other things, right? So obviously your senses into it. For example, people who do art, writing, or anything creative, they have a special touch. They see things that we don't see. They hear notes that we don't hear. That ordinary people who don't have that Daas, they don't understand. Have you ever tried to the musicians to go to the concert with a musician? You hear this beautiful music and you see this musician is like, oh, I can't hear this. Oh my gosh, he made a mistake there. He made a mistake there. And you're like looking at them as like completely oblivious to what are they talking about. You enjoyed it. That's why musicians usually don't go to concerts, because they can't hear other people play music. Why? Because the senses of hearing is so refined that they're able to see things that are like, unless it's really a great musician. And for us, we might not necessarily, for ordinary people, we may not necessarily see or feel or sense. The same thing is with anything, with poetry, with any type of art that involves Daas. So this is in short where the Daas is coming from. The Daas is coming from this Chush, that sensitivity. We cannot say that a person has Daas but doesn't have Chush, right? That's why he is a little bit expanding on Daas and bringing us this understanding of where the Daas is coming from. What does this really practically mean, right? So let's just, read till the end, okay? So these are the Chushim de alemala min haseichel. That this is Zayin Tikkun Gulgolta Shem Bechinas Chushim, that this is the aspect of Chushim which is above the Seichel, Vadal. Vadal usually means, and this is enough for understanding, Vadai Lemavin, right? Meaning, if we really delve into what he said above, we're able to make the right connections. And let's go. Bechinas Chushanal. Now, a person, we determined, a person has a Chush. Okay, Pa'el etzla achar kacha Hiskashrus. That Chush, what activates in him this level of Hiskashrus, of this level of connection. Bahaskala, in the Haskala Sa'inyan, Shu Bechinas Hispashtus Me'etzem Ha'inyan. Now, what is the Haskala now? We're going back to Chachma. What is Chachma? Chachma is the essence of that concept, the way it enters into the realm of intellect. Okay? So now, he's able to connect to that realm of intellect right now, because now my brain is going to be busy of how am I manifesting my ratzon. Okay, this is the b'chinas hispashtus mi'etzem ha'inyan. This is the manifestations from the essence of that thing. Kmo shehiskil b'tamim rabim, the way he was able to conceptualize in different ways. Okay, lahachriach asiyat chesed. Right? In this context, we're talking about the person who wants to do good. Now his brain has to work. How am I doing this goodness? Okay. And now I have to conceptualize in all kinds of different reasons. How am I going to bring it into actuality? right? Ve'omek ha'hiskashrus b'haskolas ha'inyan hu lefi erech omek ha'hiskashrus shelo b'ratzon. And here he draws a beautiful correlation, okay, that how am I connected to my ratzon? That's how I'm going to be connected to my brain working on how to bring about that ratzon in actuality. Meaning, the more I'm connected with that desire, the more I have chush, the more I'm going to have das. So who is chush? Chush is my sensing of the thing, right? Why would I have chush? Well, because I really want it. Why would you want it? Because you essentially connected to it. You see these shtalushes? I'm essentially good. Therefore, I'm going to have desire to do good. It's already coming down, right? Therefore, my senses are going to work for me to do good. Therefore, my brain is going to be occupied to figure out the ways how to do good. And that my connection to me thinking about it, right, is not going to be just 5 minutes to be yoitzazain, right? It's going to be a consuming experience. Okay, so the more I'm going to be consumed in it, and the amount of time I'm going to spend in it, going to be dependent of how am I connected to that essence of the ratzon to begin with, which is my chush. Okay, and this is called chush, v'nikra chush, sheyesh lo be'etzem ha'inyan, that I have in the essence of that thing, v'dal. Okay, so yeah, we need to summarize a little bit. It is an intense part, as you could see, right? He's jumping between the chush, he's jumping between the das, and he's pretty much bringing us into this little formula of how any project comes down to this world. Any project out there in the world goes through this ishtalshelus of the desire, okay, the sensing of it, which is the chush. All our chushim become alert to manifest that desire, that manifest into our right brain, that we have a vision about how to manifest this desire. Our left brain starts working into all the details, how to do it, what to do, etc., etc. And the connection between the two brains of the vision and the details is going to be governed by the middle line, which is das. Okay? And the more chush I had to begin with, before it manifested into my brain, the more chush I'll have, the more das I'm going to have in doing everything else what das is supposed to do. So I see 5 things here. 5 questions. Let me see. Nechama, where does chush come from? Oh, chush come from the essence of that thing. Chush is my connection to the essence of the ratzon. Okay, how am I connected to my own desire? It's funny, right? We can have a bunch of desires, but we may not necessarily be connected with them. Now, what is definition of the chush? The definition of the chush is my connection to my ratzon. The connection to the ratzon. Here we go. We could look at it at the text. And he constantly wants it, right? It's right here. And the connection that he has in that aspect of the ratzon, at the time that he wants it, it's called chush. This is the definition of the chush. Okay, I was taught that it's somehow sensing the pleasure in it. Okay, amazing. That's beautiful. Saratoga Best, I assume this is you, that STB, it's true. So why a person has a desire to begin with? Why would we want to have a desire for something? Because truly, in the Pnimius HaKeser, there is oneg there. Yes, the oneg is a pleasure. We have a pleasure for whatever experience we might have. Therefore, we have a ratzon to have it at all times. And therefore, this whole ishtalshelus happens. But for some reason, he's not bringing it out here. I don't know why. So therefore, we're gonna be faithful to Rabbi Hillel's journey. He did not say one word of oneg here. But yes, it's true. But we're going to jump a little bit ahead. He's going to talk about the oneg. Okay, that's it. So I'm gonna give mic to Nia. Okay, there are a few questions I see. Seeing the Hashgacha Pratis when you want to connect with Hashem. Okay, that's already like, you're right. You know, when we have the innate desire to connect with God, and this desire is a constant desire, right? So then our eyes are open to see things in the environment that confirms that desire. Okay, Chush is a part of inborn personality. It is like talent. Some have it and some don't. Not necessarily because we have many desires, right? Our essence reveals itself through many different aspects. So let's say particularly about music, yes, I will agree. This is not my innate desire. So therefore I can hear things. I could enjoy concerts. Okay, I'm not a musician. So it's true. Sometimes it comes not, you know, we don't see it. But we're going to talk about it. It's much later. Again, we're talking about in a lot of general terms, and we're going to, I suggest, let's keep it open without trying to derive a bechein and already apply it. There's not much, we don't have much to apply, but we could know from our life what, you know, we could sense in our life different aspects, how it's already working. You're right. Now you said, but then you're saying you can create it. Yes, you could create things because our essence is unlimited. Yes, we used to thinking that Chush is a talent. Well, we have talent because we have sensitivity to it. So it's interrelated. What is the definition between the bittul of Chachma and losing oneself in Das? We're going to get there. Okay, we're not talking about bittul of Chachma yet. We're not there. So please remember your question, Chaya. We'll discuss that. Wow, this is a hot topic, Nuria. I see so many questions. Okay, but in the world, people say she has a chush in languages, in science, and yes. Okay, so sensitivity. I'll tell you when we're going to answer all these questions, when we're going to go into the level of koach hamaskil. Okay, once we go into that koach hamaskil, and we're going to go into the level of Pele, which is our chapter, right? We in Tafshin Pei. Pele. So when and Aleph and the difference between Pele and Aleph and how it manifests itself. So then, yeah, we'll answer all these questions: why some people have prone to this, why they're prone to that, and how it works, and how can we really tap into deeper, deeper stuff. But for now, this is Reb Hillel's explanation. I think it's a lot to chew. So Nuria, let's go.
Okay. So, Mila, I have a question here. Either I can go over the my summary, or we can go into breakout rooms because we have 20 minutes left now. So do people feel that they need more of a summary, or you prefer to go into breakout rooms? What do you think, Mila?
How about we're going to do this? Let's go to breakout rooms. And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna summarize everybody's summary and see, how things evolve. What do you think, guys?
Okay. So if you put people into groups of 3 this time,
so how are we? We have 20.
We have 25.
25. So 23.
24. Some people.
24. Yeah, please, guys, don't leave. Don't be scared. If you would just want to, in a breakout room to be, just an observer, that's fine. You could be an observer. You don't have to be an active participant. So I wouldn't suggest you to leave, because we also learn from different people. Okay, we learn from different people, and this is very important, because how I understand it and how Nuria understand it, believe it, it's limited. Okay. we could hear from others and really participate. Okay, so let's go in breakout rooms. So how many people should we include in breakout rooms? We have 21 person, so that's 7 rooms, right? 3 of each.
Okay, great. So we'll go for 10 minutes and we'll come back and regroup and see where people have questions.
Include the co-host, no. Okay, that's going to be a random, a goyrel. We are in a Chodesh Adar. It's going to be a goyrel who you're going to be partnering with, and there's the essence of God there. So, let's go.
Okay, so Alkalea, you wanted to say something? Can you share with us?
No, it's okay. Just
Yeah, please. It's very valuable, your feedback.
We want to know how this works for you.
it always works. Can I speak?
Yes.
It always works because in a way, I think that is all this the problem of communication. That is wow. As a matter of fact, that is my obsession, to be able to communicate. But we never can do copy and paste, never. So we were talking about the definition of Chush, and we were talking about Chushim or Chushot, and I feel that it wasn't what I thought it was. But anyway, it was very pleasant, and it opened the communication to know how other people think about what Chush is.
Okay. In general, I just want to tell you that we will be revisiting Dart, and we'll revisit Dart in a lot more detail. And in some sense, it'll become more clear as we go into more detail. So if you're feeling a little bit frustrated by, that maybe you don't understand this 100%, in a few weeks' time, we revisit Dart in a lot more detail and it becomes much clearer. But having said that, please unmute yourself and give us feedback.
Wait, a question. Does our giving you feedback increase your chush, increase your ratzon to really put yourselves into teaching us?
Sure, Saratova. What a question.
I just had to try to make it practical.
As much as the little calf wants to drink, the cow wants to give milk. Okay, if we can use this analogy for anybody who wants to do what we do with Naria, and it came from a very big, immense desire to share it further. We really did this like for 22 years. For how long, Naria? On and off. Yeah, well, I remember us getting together and doing the Iyun. I will never forget that 3rd chapter of Shar Yichud, where every time we would start reading, I will start yawning, and Naria would be like, "Here you go again." Yeah. So,
but also that the breakout rooms create connection, and isn't that also Daas? So it's an experience of Daas. It's Hiskashrus, and it also does connect. It connects the teachers with the students, because once we come back, we are refreshed. We're definitely internalizing more because we invested by speaking. I think it's a way of carrying out the principles that you're teaching in practice.
Would you want to have the breakout rooms a little bit longer? Do you feel 10 minutes is enough, or you want it to be a little bit longer? We could rearrange our class, the beginning part. So
I don't think so. I think 10 minutes is enough.
People are free.
Yeah, I agree.
I think
Yeah, me too.
I didn't hear you. What did you
It's
say?
good, it's good. It's good like it is.
Good, good, good. Yeah, we're happy to.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Um,
Nuria, could you say in 1 minute through these principles about your desire to give this class throughout the years and the process so that we'll understand increased Ratzon and Chush and Das better, exemplified by exactly your desire all those years to do this class?
Well, Sarah Tova, I have to disappoint you, but all these years, I I refused to do this class because I felt that, like I've said before, a very small percentage of the experience is the information itself, and that the process, what we're able to give you is what I described last week, I think it was, where the previous Rebbe describes the 3 or 4 stages of Hitbonenut, where the first stage, and maybe the second stage is what we're doing now, where you look at it, the information, you become familiar with all the details, but then you have to become so familiar with the details that you can speak about it at length. And only then you really begin the Hitbonenut process, which is that, until there you can work with a chavrusa, you can work with yourself, but you're just getting the information into your reshut, into your brain. And then the process begins. And there the process is what they call histalkut, where you kind of gaze at it until you begin to see what is beyond the information. And that nobody can do for you. Up until that point, and this is what we try to do, is to through this process of making the information as accessible as possible. But the histalkut, which is the real experience, where you go into beyond the mashal, and hopefully you begin to experience the nimshal, meaning you begin to sense the godliness behind the information. Because really everything that we're learning, in a sense, is a mashal. We're learning about Chachma, Bina, and Dat, but that's how God created the human being. And later in Shara Yichud, you learn how that's also a mirror of how the universe is created. And so we learn it in relation to ourselves because we can understand it. But when you really go deeper into it, you start to encounter something beyond the Chochmah, Bina, and Dat. And that, is very individual. And maybe if I have to say, how is that connected to Chush and Ratzon and Oneg? That is, during the break, I was speaking to Milan, saying, as many people have said, like, well, how do you develop a chush for something? So we know, it's okay, I don't have a chush. And here we do think about chush as being like a talent or a proclivity, something natural in my neshama that goes towards that. But we all have a chush for knowing Hashem, because we're Jews. And that we can work on, that desire, that ratzon, and therefore the chush to know Hashem, we can deepen that, and we can work on that. And this is one of the ways, is through the Hitbonenut process, because the last part of the process that the Frierdiker Rebbe says is that then you will come to the oneg of your neshama. You will come to this pleasure that is, it's a very sweet point, something that there's no pleasure quite like it. It's not the pleasure of ice cream, and it's not the pleasure of music. It's the pleasure of something in the essence of your neshama. And it comes through this hitbonenut process, but it's on the other side of the histalkut part of the process. So
Wait, so would you say, so the Hitbonenut comes before the Histalkut?
Well, I think Hitzbonenut is the whole process. I don't know if I'm saying that, I'm just repeating really what the previous Rebbe said. The first stage is to get to know the information in all its details of details. Step number 1. Step number 2, until you can speak about it at length, meaning to somebody else or even to yourself, that you can go through it over and over again. Dat is this, and it's this, and this is the example, and this is how it's connected. Like really go through all the details and be able to speak about it, not just think that you know it. And he says, and then dafka, only then do you sit and stare at it with an intense intellectual eon, like attention, and then you will come to the oneg of your neshama. So we're doing the first 2 stages, and the second 2 stages is something that you do on your own, to whatever extent that you can. And that's part of the reason that we're going slowly. We're taking it a paragraph at a time. We're taking it at a concept at a time to give you the space during the week to really familiarize yourself with it and to do whatever work there is to do. Because from now on, you need to fasten your seatbelt. It starts to get really beautiful and interesting. Next week, we'll start to, he wants to take us deeper into Chochmah, Bina, and Dat. And there are 3 parts to each one: the Oimek, the Rochav, and the Orech, the depth, the width, and the length. And it just sounds like kind of normal. But next week, we'll start to learn, like, what is the Omek? What does it mean, the depth? We talk about the depth of our heart. So there's this concept in Chassidus of Omek. And next week, we'll maybe go a little bit over that here just to recap, but then we'll start looking to really going into a little bit deeper into places that I imagine that most of you have not studied before. Certainly, these were quite new concepts to me. And then it gets really, really interesting.
Is it possible, sorry, I really want to say this, but excuse me if I interrupted you.
No, I'm finished. I'm done.
Okay, I wanted to say, is it possible that through our Chushim and the way we act, we go up and understand what our essence is?
Chushim, we experience. It's above understanding. That's what it seems. It's through Chushim, we pretty much see godliness. We experience godliness. Whatever that is, we want.
Yeah,
it's not understand, right? Understanding, it's below. It's understand. We want to understand when we want to manifest.
No, that's not what I meant. No, I meant going up through the way we act and we see our reactions and then we go up in knowing what our essence and our desire is from what we are, because we act in many ways in unconscious, directed by the unconscious, by all the ways we behave, going up to discover to sense our essence or our essential desire, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what just a few minutes ago, there was like a bright and warm, very warm light telling me, okay, what you desire is unification. That's what you are always. And then the way I behave is trying to break barriers and being very, very sensitive to whatever is obstacles and so on. it was very beautiful what I experienced. Thank you.
Great, beautiful. This is the essence of this kuntrus, right? This kuntrus, another word for this kuntrus is kuntrus ha'izboinanos. And this is the shar hayichud. Yeah, the ultimate desire of every Jew is to unify. It's to unify with all parts of ourselves, and then to unify with God, because we are part of him. So it is our essential desire, because in essence, we are God.
I touched that for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second. I touched it. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
Great, wow. So that's
Beautiful.
Well, I have to say thank you, because I've been struggling to learn Chassidus and I couldn't grasp these concepts. And this is helping not only in this moment, but in Chassidus in general, to be able to make sense of what you're learning once you become familiar with the concepts.
Hannah, it's exactly true. That's why it's called the key to Chassidus, because it's going to give you the vocabulary that's needed in order to go to the next level in studying Chassidus. I was just listening while I was preparing for Shabbat. I opened up a mimer by Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, and he was using terminology and not explaining it. And the terminology is the terminology we're going to learn in the next few weeks. He was talking about Ome Kamosag and Tamsita Saga and these kinds of things. And he assumed that the Bochrim who were sitting in front of him would understand these concepts, and presumably they do. But this is what Shara Yichud comes to do, is to give us the key to then being able to open up a lot of other Chassidut, because it's what Reb Hillel is basically doing, is saying, you know, I need to give you the background of what you expected to know in order to understand Chassidus. And that's where Reb Hillel is such a gift of a teacher, because he understands what we don't know and what we need to know in order to really open up other Hasidic texts, especially my Morim.
Yes, thanks so much. It's been a wonderful experience.
Okay, wonderful. So stay with us.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I would really strongly suggest, if
Yes.
you guys share your summaries in the chat. I assume everybody here is on our WhatsApp chat. And if not, you could email it to the email that you're connecting, getting the messages from. If that's in a form of a summary of whatever we're using, please share it. And if it's mind map, please share your mind maps. Whatever summary you do, please share it. It's very important that we are pretty much culminating the first stage of this chapter is understanding Chachma, Bina, and Das. So we need to have this summary already. And it's not Chas v'Shalom forcing you to do it, but it's very beneficial for you to write your own summary and share it. Some of you asked to sign up with some kind of chavrusas. That would be an amazing thing, to find a study partner. So please, if you're looking for one, post in a group that you are looking for one, so people know. And we already this Shabbos made one shidduch between two people who wanted to learn in 770. So yeah, it's very important to have somebody who you can go over information and maybe create a summary together. We could call it, both of you getting together and really creating a beautiful summary and sharing it with us, because how you summarize would be very beneficial for others to know what details you included in your summary. Okay. And that's how we all going to be growing together in this. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Oh, and just to remind you, those of you who are in South Africa and Israel, next week the class is going to be an hour earlier because of daylight saving. So just look out for that.
That's hard.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry that if it's
Yeah, Chaya, I think asking a question.
Right.
This is more about contemplating the concept, which you can give an example of how to calculate the reconnection over the week. Okay. Yeah, so Nechama, we're going to post about what pages in the group we're going to be going over next week.
in general, we just do the next paragraph in the Hebrew, and you can see the equivalent in the English. Chaya, I'm not really sure how to answer Chaya's question. Is she still here? Yeah, you're still here.
This is a really dumb technical question. If I really, I told Mila I want to go to the copy center and just have them bind the book, print it out and bind it. And after every paragraph, 5 blank pages, so that I can make the mind map and I can write questions and etc. So if I bleed nether, I'm going to do it. How do I get 1 paragraph per page? It's really a dumb question. Is there a way with the Google Drive to just extract 1 paragraph, print it out, another paragraph, print it out, rather than, they're like different